Good evening, Mr. Ruben Arimugam, Miss Eda, Miss Preeti, and all the teachers who joining this webinar. Thank you for spending your time at this moment to get to know about Buncee. I am Miss Dilega, an English teacher from Sabah Chinese High School, located at Tawau, Sabah. I am your moderator for today's slot. Without further ado, let me introduce our presenter and our guest speaker for this live sharing session. Our today's presenter is Miss Eda, all the way from New York. She is the strategy manager at Buncee. She is passionate about improving access to quality education and engaging students into STEM fields, especially for underserved communities worldwide. Prior to Buncee, she has worked in the public sector conducting scientific research and analysis, including the National Science Foundation as well as the Earth Institute at Columbia University in New York. Besides, our today's guest speaker is Miss Preeti, is a primary teacher from ZPHS Vishnupuri High School located at Maharashtra, India. She has 15 years of experience in teaching profession. She is passionate about her work as a teacher, Microsoft Innovative Educator Expert, MIE Fellow, Skype Master Teacher, Worklet Ambassador, T for Education Ambassador, as a MIEE guest speaker, and always eager to help educators from all over the world for professional development and innovative ways to use different Microsoft tools in the classroom. Now, please welcome Miss Eda to present the information about Buncee. Hi, Miss Eda.
Hi, Mr. Lega. Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for taking the time to sit here, join me, and learn a little bit more about Buncee. I'm actually chiming in here from New York, so it's great to connect with you all globally today. So what I'm going to do for this session is really give you a really broad overview about what Buncee is, walk you through a few different examples of how folks are actually using it and integrating in the classroom, especially in a remote context, for remote learning. And then from there, I'll be able to share a few, a little bit more about how to actually use the tool. But we're looking to have another follow-up session, and that session instead will have a more deeper dive about all of the different features that are part of the tool. And so without further ado, I'm happy to get started. So more than anything, Buncee is really a tool that's used in the K through 12 space to really bring creativity into the classroom. So it is a web-based tool, but really there's so many different ways that you can use Buncee or bring it into your classroom. But at its heart, Buncee is really what we call a content creation tool. So it's really designed to help our users, whether that's a student, a teacher, or an administrator, to be able to easily create visually engaging forms of content. And so with that, within the tool itself, what we do is offer a lot of different media options for you to take advantage of so that you could create those content very easily to be able to share class materials. And so on this page itself, you'll notice that there's a wide range of graphics that are immediately available to you. All of them are educational and very safe for you to use. So starting from the top left-hand side, what you'll notice is that you actually have access to a wide range of stickers and animations that you can use to sort of design your Buncees. At the same time, you have access to web images as well as web videos. All of those are Creative Commons licensed, so it's safe for you and your students to use. So you'll be able to find relevant media to be able to present some class materials. At the same time, you also have the ability to be able to record your own audio or your own video. So you'll be able to add that personalized touch in your creations. And some of the last main features, especially when you're creating a Buncee, is being able to form different assessments. So within Buncee, you could also create multiple choice questions and free response questions. And so with all of these different media options, the idea here is that we want to be able to give our classrooms all of the different tools that they might ever need, really to be able to create and express their learning without any sort of limitation. And so that goes without saying that, with all of the different media options, there's so many different things that you could create with the tool. So you could use it to create digital portfolios, video reflections. You could use it to create book reports, virtual field trips. You can also do audio and visual reflections, digital stories, flashcards, visual word problems. Really, the opportunities and abilities are really basically endless. And so that's where Buncee comes in. So Buncee is a tool with endless possibilities. You could get as creative as you'd like to be able to use it in various subject areas. So whether you want to be able to use it to enable your students' voice, to blend that learning, or to be able to engage your parents, there's so many different applications for the tool. And it's almost up to you as a creative individual to be able to express that too. So that's a little bit about what Buncee is as a content creation tool. But the truth of the matter is that Buncee is a big platform with a lot of different features to help support you and your students. And so in the tool itself, you actually have the ability to not only create all of this awesome interactive content, but we make it very easy for you to be able to share that work, whether it's online or offline, right from the tool itself. And I'll walk you guys through that, as we go in through the demonstration itself. And then at the same time, within the tool, after you create all of that awesome interactive work, you'll be able to also engage in discussion. So you'll be able to add comments to one another's work. You could also react on each other's work. So it'll be a great way for you to really just liven up the classroom and be able to engage with one another. Some of the other main capabilities here to help engage your students is also that you can earn badges and different rewards. So as you start creating Buncees, or as much as you engage in discussion, or, depending on how much you do your assignments and how fast you submit them on time, you'll be able to get a reward for that too. So those are some of the features that we also provide to help engage students. But now on the flip side, some of our bigger ambitions too is obviously to make it very easy for you as an educator to be able to teach from afar. And so aside from all of the different features I already spoke about, you could also, as an educator, create your Buncees as assignments and assessments and share those out to your students in a virtual classroom. At the same time, you also have access to a big library of templates. So let's say that you're unsure how to create, potentially a different lesson or an idea. You have templates that are readily available for you to build off of. And then one of the last main features I wanted to share is that it's very easy for you as an educator to also be able to share your resources out to one another, especially to be able to collaborate, which is very important in a remote learning setting. So those are some of the other features, but one of the main features I really wanted to touch base on, and I'll actually go through this in more detail in, the actual demonstration itself, is that you also have access to Buncee's IdeasLab. And so Buncee's IdeasLab is as illustrated on the right-hand side of my screen here, but Buncee's IdeasLab is an awesome library for you to take advantage of because it's really where you can go to access classroom-ready materials. So across different subject areas, across different grade levels, whether that's elementary, middle school, high school, or even post-secondary education. So what you'll be able to do here is find different ideas of how you can actually integrate Buncee into the classroom, and then also access corresponding templates for you so that you could share those activities out immediately to your students. So you don't always have to create your content from scratch here. So that's one of the main features that I wanted to touch base on. But really, in terms of a remote learning sort of environment, like I mentioned, there's so many different features to the Buncee platform itself that there's honestly a lot of different ways to be able to achieve remote learning with it. And so I just wanted to highlight, 6 of the main reasons or applications that are being used to integrate Buncee into a remote learning setting. So first of all, like we covered with the different features, the main thing is that using Buncee, it's very easy for you to create fun, interactive, and also accessible content for your students. And then at the same time, students are easily able to create very fun and very engaging assignment submissions, or just creative work in general. So it's a very great opportunity for students to get engaged in what they're learning in the classroom. And then last main thing is that as we start thinking about being remote, that need to be able to connect with our students from a distance, in Buncee too, you'll also be able to create these safe spaces for discussion and also engagement. And I'll walk you guys through what that really looks like. And then last of the main features is that a lot of our educators are actually using the tool to not just, speak and connect with their students in the classroom, but also build those relationships with the families, of these students and their overall broader community to be able to get them engaged in the class materials, because it'll be a great way to ensure that the student's success is really top in mind. Some other main features, just to quickly highlight, is that there's also administrative management capabilities, and we are very, very safe we are very, very data safe, if you may, for the classroom. So at least here in the US, we comply with some of the major, or if not just major, policy provisions for data security for our students. So COPA, GDPR, FERPA, NYSED, 2D, and more. So there's a lot to it, but we're definitely safe for the classrooms, and you don't have to worry about us, taking the data somewhere else. So those are some of the main features that I wanted to cover. But other things is that we integrate very heavily with both Google and Microsoft. So the idea here is that as you take advantage of the different features that are also available in Buncee, you'll be able to also bring that and integrate it with some of your existing tools in your classroom. So especially with Google Classroom, we allow you to synchronize your rosters, so you don't have to worry about creating all of your student accounts from scratch. At the same time, you could easily create your content on Buncee, all of those different lessons, materials, etc., and then also share that easily in Google Classroom so that it's easy for you to manage. And then if you are Microsoft users, we're also integrated with that. So very easy for you to share, whether it's a Google or a Microsoft sort of tool. All right, so we covered a broad range of features that Buncee has to offer. And before we dive into, some different examples, just to give you that sort of visual about how it works, what I have here is, where do you get started? So if you are interested to get started, one of the first sites I would actually recommend, aside from going to buncee.com, is to actually visit our remote learning site. So if you go to www.remotelearning.buncee.com, this is where you'll be able to, first of all, sign up for the free access that we've given to support our educators, especially through this challenging time. But two, you'll also be able to dive into more free training. And that's also held live. So you'll be able to access that sign up in addition to other help videos, guides, and activities that'll help you just get jump started into your classroom environment. And then more than anything, what we're very known for, at least in our community, is the type of support that we are happy and always willing to provide to everybody. And so just to share some of the feedback we've had from our community, when remote learning started, we were definitely here to help. So some folks even just shared how in less than 10 minutes, we were able to help them get started for their whole school district to get on to Buncee to be able to kick off with their students. And at the same time, our big focus, like Victoria the Tech on the bottom actually shared, is that our hope is to be able to support both students and teachers. And so our community is really top of mind, and we're more than anything here for you all. And so with that said, feel free to get in touch with me. I'll leave this for a second, but here's my email. So if you have any further questions about, what Buncee is, if you need any help with resources, any questions at all, feel free to email me at edac@buncee.com. And then if you want to scan my QR codes, we'll be able to connect either on LinkedIn or on Twitter too. But yeah, that's my super quick summary about, what Buncee is and what features are available to you. And with that, I'm happy to go into a few different examples. And so the examples that I'll be able to share with you are going to range from both students, teachers, and even administrators. So I'll start off with one of the examples from an educator's perspective. So question is, obviously, how do you bring Buncee into your classroom as an educator, especially in a remote environment? And so this example here is just an example Buncee that was created by from an educator's perspective of how he's actually teaching Chinese students how to speak in English. And so what he's done here is he used one of Buncee's record video features to be able to record parts of his lesson. At the same time, you'll be able to play that interactively.
首先切损，然后切清。
So you'll be able to record a video right into Buncee itself, which makes it very easy for you to be able to create your lessons, share it out to your students. But at the same time, as you go through, in this example, he happens to be talking about recipes to make bamboo. So what you'll notice is that he used the different graphics from Buncee to create this. All of these are pulled from the library itself, so you'll be able to type in the language of your native language, and at the same time, you could pull different web images directly into the tool. So this is one he pulled from our search engine. And then you'll also be able to record your own audio as well.
Recipe, 做法.
So especially in this example, the idea here is that as a language educator, as you have the ability to record your video, your own audio, especially also with your students, it'll be a great way for you to also be able to help your students be able to play back this information so that they could play it at their own time and pace, especially if they're not with you face to face. And so this is just an example from a teacher's perspective. Just to dive into a few other examples. So this is another educator's example of how they've used it to actually journal the whole pandemic situation and her experience from it. And so starting with April 1, 2020, what she actually had done was put together all of these different media options. So she started pulling in different pictures about her family, started sharing a little bit more about her family's story. And what she did was she also recorded her own audio into it. So in this example, she used it as an opportunity to have her students actually think about a way for them to also document their journey, especially as, the remote learning is a very new environment for all of them. So this is just a creative example that I wanted to share where teachers don't always use Buncee to be just a specific lesson, but also as an opportunity to do creative projects with their students. And this is just her template for her students that she built. Now, going to different student examples, this happens to be one where a student was actually asked to analyze, some parts of the historical context in the US. And so what the student did was she actually provided her analysis in the form of a video and also in the form of audio. And so the idea here was that, as students, when we are posed with different essay prompts and questions, not all students may be comfortable to actually write out their answers. Some people are still learning how to write. Some students are still, not necessarily sure of how to piece different information together. And so what this educator did for her student was she used Buncee to help the students, allowed them to actually communicate their understanding in ways that were, very much more comfortable for them. And so the student, in turn, instead of feeling like they had to actually write a full essay to get engaged with this history context, the student actually provided their analysis in the form of a video.
The need for more labor, soldiers, and support for the American cause.
And then also at the same time, analyze the different artifacts of history, these different graphics that the teacher had pulled, using their own audio as well. And so I thought this was a great example of how using Buncee, you don't have to limit your students to actually get engaged in the course materials. It'll give them different options and opportunities to be able to represent their learning. Other examples of student work that I just wanted to share so that you could get a little more context from the student side is that this is one where a student actually did a book review. And so as the student did their book review, they went to analyze the book called Poppy. And in a traditional sense, when you're analyzing, different bodies of text, what you'll do again is have your students maybe write about an essay or write a little bit more about the characters that they came across in the book. And so what this teacher did was give the students that creative opportunity to be able to express their understanding of the book itself in their own work, in their own way. And so what this student had done, she was an early elementary student, or actually upper elementary student rather, but what this student had done was instead of writing about all of the different characters that she had come across in the book, what she did was she actually pulled different stickers that she found in the Buncee Media Library to represent the characters that she found, so that now she's visualizing all of the different people. And at the same time, she actually recorded her own audio to demonstrate and also articulate, what she had learned about these different characters. And so what's cool about this, and I'll play it for a second here.
Ragweed's curious. He talks back a lot.
So what's really cool about this is that as an educator, as you give your students these different, ways for them to communicate their understanding, what you'll notice is that this student had the ability or the opportunity to be, first of all, creative about what she learned. But second, what you'll also be able to do is hear the personality of the student and hear their voice, so that it's not always about writing in a traditional form of text to analyze something. You're giving the students just different ways to be able to represent their understanding. And so moving forward, the student actually got as creative as recreating different scenes of the book. And so all of these different graphics that you see on this example are actually right from Buncee itself. And so what's really neat about this is that in a traditional form of a book review, what you normally do is, again, have your students write about, different chapters of a reading passage. But here the student actually took it to another level and actually just visualized what she's learned for her teacher. So not only does the teacher know that she's done it, but at the same time, she's also able to play this audio that the student recorded to actually talk about what the significance of the different parts of the book are. And so this is just another great example where the student has all of these different ways to reflect and demonstrate understanding. And so thinking about how you're going to be in a remote learning environment, this is a great opportunity for you to give your students all of these different engaging options, but at the same time being able to see them or hear them, without ever fully being there together. Just a few more quick examples that I want to run through before diving in, just to give you more perspective, is that we also have 3D graphics available for you. So here, this one's a little bit more scientific, but other folks are creating flashcards with it. So you could print out Buncees. It's not always doesn't always have to be digital. But in any case, this educator then has this flashcard. They're able to interact, so the students are able to play around and such, and then really inspect the different parts. So it's a cool way for students to also get engaged. And then you could also download this if you want to be able to study these different visuals. Last main things, just thinking about how we're moving to a remote environment. This is just an example of where some of our educators actually used Buncee as an opportunity for them to be able to check in remotely with their teacher, or with their students rather. So again, you don't get to see your students every day, but at least in a digital format, you could still connect with them. And so here's just a quick example where the teacher actually recorded her own video to share some updates about, what's going on for the week and what to expect. So I won't play this video, but this is another great example of how you could use it, not just for literal class instruction, but also for helping you get organized for the week, especially when you're remote. And then this is just another example, again, where a teacher actually used Buncee to create an organizer for their students, so that the students actually know what to expect for the month, so that as they're being remote, they'll be able to understand, what are the priorities, what should you do, and things of that nature. Last main example that I really wanted to share was this one. So I shared a lot of different examples of how teachers and students are using the tool to, not only just share about their work and also their instructional materials, but also get them organized, especially when we're all remote. But this one is one of my favorite examples because this one is actually created by an assistant principal out in Florida in the US. But one of the challenges that we've come across in remote learning is that as we become more distant, in the sense that we're not able to see one another, it's had, some emotional impacts for some of the different communities. And so what this assistant principal did was she wanted to be able to really engage her students, families, as well as her faculty, because she wanted to be a way to liven up and bring a positive sort of mindset to her students. And so what she did in this example was actually use Buncee to create a broadcast so that she could actually share some updates with her community. So I'll just play this because it speaks for itself in a way.
Happy Wednesday! It's April 1st. I am full of hope. Did you notice my shirt? Shout out to my Auburn volleyball teammates, because that's right. They've actually been watching our Bronco broadcast. They are.
So I think this is a really great example of how Buncee can also be used beyond the classroom, where this principal really was just hoping to be able to liven up her community and really connect, because some students feel disadvantaged that they can't be able to see their teachers or their friends, especially because we're all remote. So this was just a cool way where this individual is sharing in that sense, and bringing up positivity for everyone. So these were all several examples of how to actually create Buncees, or how people have used Buncee. But some other examples, just before I dive now into content creation itself, this is an example of a Buncee board. And so with all of the individual Buncees that you've seen, on Buncee boards, you could actually create collections of Buncees. If you're familiar with Wakelet, it's also similar in that sense, but this one is just a collection of just Buncees. And so what's cool about this is that every little box that you see here is a pin of a Buncee. So a Buncee was added to this board. And what's neat about Buncee boards is that it's a way for you to connect remotely. And so all of the different examples here, which is actually around the topic of Earth Day, were all Buncee projects created by students literally across the world. So spanning from Russia, there's from Bulgaria, there's even from India, there's from Vietnam. So students literally around the world just contributed their work to one another to be able to share it. But what's cool about it is that as you click on a Buncee, you'll also be able to not only obviously see the project or the contribution. You'll notice this one is in a different language, but you'll also be able to engage in discussion on it as well. So it's a really great way for you to really engage your community, whether that's in the classroom or also beyond. So this is just one of the final examples that I just wanted to share. So now we've covered a lot of examples. And with that, I'd love to share how to actually use the tool. So right now where I'm in is in my dashboard. So once you log into Buncee, what you'll notice is that you have three main tabs to look at. So the first one is your classes tab. So this is where you as an educator would create your classes, and then also set up your students' accounts. And in this tab, you'll be able to create your Buncees as assignments, send it out to your students, manage all of the assignment submissions that they have, and also review any of the grades and give them feedback on their work. So Buncees is obviously where you create your Buncees, and we'll dive into that a little more, but boards is the last example that I shared where you're able to create those collections of Buncees. So with that, getting started, simply you just have to head to the Buncees tab. And so again, this is where you create all of those fun, interactive Buncee content. And so what you'll do is create a new Buncee with this box over here, or head to the red button on the top where it says create. So once you select that, you'll head to create on Buncee 3.0. This is just a temporary announcement that we have. And then once you head and open that up, what will happen is that you'll access our templates library. So that's this feature that I had mentioned during the presentation where you're able to access thousands of templates ready for you to use. And so what you'll notice is that as you scroll through on the left-hand panel, there's many different categories for you to choose from, both in education itself. So if you're teaching English, if you're teaching an interdisciplinary subject, or language learning, science, math, PE, whatever the case may be, you'll be able to find potentially a relevant template for you. And at the same time, you'll also find, just different beyond the classroom templates that you could also use. So let's say if we click on awards and recognition, especially if you want to be able to give a certificate, you'll be able to find different templates for that. You'll also be able to find, like I mentioned, different activities. So I selected math over here. So these are just different template activities that you could build off of right immediately. And so as you select the template, you'll be able to preview it and say, hey, is that something I'm interested to use? You'll be able to navigate it, see what it describes or what's the purpose of it. And then you could choose to use it or not. So this is the templates library. There's over 25 different categories for you to choose from. Again, whether it's in education or beyond, there's likely a template for you to use. So in this instance, we're going to actually create from scratch. So with that, I just X'd out the templates library. And so now I'm opened up into my creation canvas. And so this is really where that magic happens. And so first of all, what you'll notice is that your first main thing is this is where you'll be able to have that blank canvas to start off of. And you'll see that you have two main options that tell you exactly what to do. So it's very easy, whether you're a kid that's in potentially kindergarten or to, an adult that might not be so tech savvy, you have your instructions very set right over here. So before we dive into actually creating the Buncee, you could also change your canvas size here. So right now we're defaulted onto a traditional presentation size. So if you select resize canvas, you'll be able to see you could change it to a square, a banner, a letter, business card size, a playing card size, or you could customize it to whatever size that you'd like. So you'll be able to change the canvas, but for our example here, I'll just keep it to the traditional presentation size that we have. And so with that, once you X out that, let's get started with creating. And so when you click here to change a background, what you'll notice is that you open up our entire library of different graphics. So they're visually engaging, first of all, but at the same time, they're all in one place. And so what you'll notice is that you'll be able to search a keyword on the top or scroll right through. But there's different categories for you to choose from. First of all, you could search the web. And so this is very important because this is actually Creative Commons licensed images, meaning that if you as an educator or you as a student, search up a graphic right here, it's very safe for you to use. It's filtered out, first of all, but second, it's also copyright free. So you don't have to worry about the image not being legal for you to use in your any of your projects. So you'll be able to search the images immediately. You'll be able to change the colors. You could also upload your own, which is pretty intuitive in that sense. But at the same time, you'll be able to see all of the different categories that we offer. And things to note is that because we support such a broad range of users across different grade levels, we also provide different pictures to support the categories so that you're also able to, if you can't read the word potentially, or maybe it's in a language that you're not familiar with, you could also see supporting graphics for it. So you'll be able to scroll all of these different categories. Like I mentioned, there's lots to choose from. We have over 31,000 different graphics for you to take advantage of. Again, all safe and educational. So in our example here, I'm just going to select About Me. But yeah, so once you select a category, you'll be able to see more of the different examples. You'll be able to click on it and then drag it right into your canvas. And there you go. It's as simple as that. Very easy for you to just pull a different media and create something very visually engaging. And so now that we've selected our background, obviously we want to be able to add our own items to it. So once you do that, you could click here to add your first item. And so once you press add your first item, what you'll notice is that you open up Buncee's media library. So as I mentioned in the presentation, we give all of our educators and students all of the different media tools that you might ever need to really be able to create and express and share your learning. So what you'll notice is that you have all of the options in one place, so it makes it very simple for you, but at the same time, it's also color coordinated. So just going right through, everything in yellow represents things that you're creating. So if you want to create text, whether it's an essay, you could do so. You could add shapes. You could also draw. Everything in red are different graphics that we've provided from Buncee. Our design team has created and curated for you. So as in the examples I've shared before, you could also access 3D graphics. You could also access emojis, which is in particular important for social emotional learning. And then we also have different animations and stickers available for you. And then going through in blue, what we have is all of the different web images that you might be able to search. So like I mentioned before, all of these are safe for you to use. They're Creative Commons licensed, so you don't worry about the copyright if you're especially doing a research project, but you could search web images. panoramic images. Those are those 360-degree graphics that you'll be able to navigate. And then lastly, you can also access Khan Academy videos. I'm not sure if everyone's familiar with Khan Academy, but it's an incredible resource filled with different videos that are, first of all, free of charge, but second, they go across different subject areas that walk you through different educational topics spanning from math, science, English, finance, whatever the case is. They likely have a supporting video for you. So educators and students actually use this to really supplement any of the resources that they're looking to learn or share with their students. Lastly, in green, these are things that you could source from your device. So you could upload your files. So let's say that you are wanting to upload PDFs or images. You could upload your files. You could also import different links into your Buncee 2. And then, as I showed in the various examples before, you could also record your own video and also add your own photos into Buncee 2. So again, if you want to be able to connect with your students from afar, or if you as a student might want to connect with your teacher, you can record a video for them too as part of your activity. And lastly, in purple, what we have here is our different assessment functionalities. So you can add free response questions as well as multiple choice questions as well. And then lastly, if you're familiar with QR codes, you could also add a QR code to your Buncee. So it's a great way for you to access the Buncee with the code. So in this instance, if you wanted to use the QR code, what would happen is, let's say that you created a lesson and you want to print it out for your students because, you know, maybe their internet is limited. What they can do is print out the Buncee. You could print out the Buncee, maybe share it with them. But at the same time, they could also scan the QR code to access the digital version in the future if they needed to. But yeah, so these are all of the different media options. Again, like I mentioned, all in one place. But let me just show you how easy it is for you to find. So our example that we are walking through is creating an all about me. So I'm actually from the Philippines, so I'm just going to search Philippines for here. So what you'll notice is, first of all, you find different stickers, animations that are relevant to the search term that you provided, but you could also search different web images. So you'll notice here that these are all of the different Creative Commons licensed images that I mentioned. Again, very easy for you to find it. You don't have to worry about your students going to a different tab, finding something unsafe to use in the classroom. So all of these are relevant, and we could just search Asia in general, and then it will update, you know, the search term. So yeah, so it's very, very simple for you to find, you know, just relevant images in general. So I'm just going to select an image to add to our canvas here. So you could select one or multiple, it doesn't matter, it's up to you. And then you could either drag them in like I did with the background, or you could press add and it'll bring it onto the canvas. And so that's how simple it is to really add an item onto a Buncee canvas. So let me just move it around. So what you'll notice is once you select an item, you'll be able to move it around and such. So I'm just gonna fix it up over here for a second. And so as I just update this, what you'll notice is that you'll be able to also rotate the images. And as I scale it up, so what you'll notice too is that as you select each item, on the bottom is where you'll see your action panel. And so this is where you could get a little more creative and add, you know, more in-depth kind of functions to your graphics. So as we selected this image, what you'll notice is that you could add a link to it. So let's say if your students were doing a research project and they needed to reference, you know, a different research article that may have been relevant to this, you could actually add the site to it. So we'll add Google for now. You could also add your own audio. So again, let's say that your students might have to do research maybe on, you know, just farming in general. They could select an item, record their own audio, and then you'll be able to play it also. So this is just a sample of my recording for my project. So then I press stop, and then you'll be able to upload, and then you'll be able to add it right in. And so now audio will be attached, and that will be similar to the examples that we shared earlier. Other things is that if you're especially using Buncee for, let's say, digital storytelling, you'll be able to change opacity. So this is great for when you want to get into that creative detail sort of orientation. Other things is that we're very accessibility focused, so you'll also be able to add alt text. Alt text is a great way for students that may have visual impairments to be able to have like descriptions for their graphics. So if they have a screen reader, it'll be able to describe the image for them. Other things is obviously you could flip the items, and then you could change the layering of them. So I'll just give an example of what that means. So what you'll notice is that this farm is right above the image where the folks are fishing. So you'll, on the right-hand panel, you'll actually be able to change the layers. So if you want to get into a more of a detail orientation, you'll be able to also change the orders of your items. So it's very easy for you to be able to create and also get into a lot more detail. So yeah, it's really as simple as that to create a Buncee. So let me just walk you through other things. So as we search animations, let's just say, you could search up the different categories. You'll be able to play different images. So in the Philippines, we do have jellyfish like other parts of the world. So you'll be able to see all of these awesome interactive graphics that are just fun, you know, to liven up your projects. You'll be able to drag them right in. So I'm going to put my jellyfish right here with my farm. Not that I want everyone to have a jellyfish when they're farming, but yeah, so you'll be able to add all of these awesome graphics very easily. So it's honestly very simple for you as an educator to be able to create interactive lessons or projects or assignments that you could send out to your students in a remote capacity. But at the same time, as a student, it's very easy for you to just create your projects, demonstrate your learning to your educator itself. And so this is really a super quick summary of what Buncee is. So I'm just going to give my Buncee a title here. But once you finish creating your Buncee, we could preview it. And so once it loads, what you'll notice is that the audio that we recorded is actually over here, so you could play that. But then the link that we added to this image, which was google.com, you could actually link back to it. So it's a great way for you to also create hyperdocs if you're familiar with hyperdocs, where you're able to create all of these also resources in one place. Yeah, so this is just a sample Buncee, very rudimentary, but I think it demonstrates how easy it is for you to create something so visually engaging, but at the same time, very easy for you to organize information for your students, and at the same time for your students be able to demonstrate your understanding of course materials. And so as you create your Buncee, next step is really to be able to share it out. So once you press share, you'll see there's different options for you to share your material. First of all, you could set the privacy settings. So if you want anyone to be able to view it, you could change it. But if you only want people that are specific users, let's say only your students, and you want it to be private to them, not to anyone on the internet, you could also change the privacy setting in that way. Or you could just keep it to yourself where no one will be able to view it, only you can. You can change the settings so that it's commentable. So what this means is that you're allowing people to make comments on your Buncee, which is great for remote environment where you want to be able to have that feedback ability. So if your students create a project, you as an educator might want to be able to give them feedback on what their work was. You can also make it copyable. What this means is that if you create a lesson or an example as a template for your student to use at home, you could also allow them to make copies of it, so it's a template for them. Just going through quickly, because this is a lot of information to manage through, but you could also share, obviously, the link of the Buncee. So you could take the URL. This is the same one, but you could send it over to anybody. You could also embed it on your site. So if you manage, your own school website or your own blog, you could also embed your Buncees directly on it. So it'll keep all of the interactivity in place. Other cool things is that you can actually email Buncees directly. So you don't have to worry about taking the URL, going to Gmail or Yahoo or MSN or whichever email service you use. You can actually email the Buncee directly to somebody. And so this is great for instances where maybe you want to be able to create your activities or your lessons and maybe share it out to parents, right? You'll be able to send the lesson as an email to a parent immediately from the tool, But at the same time, what's cool is you can actually check the email status. So let's say that you send out the resource to your parent or the student. You'll be able to see if they opened it, if they clicked it, if it failed to deliver, so that they're always in the know. You're always in the know of, how your student is doing. You could also share with Buncee users. You could also send as an RSVP. You could share it on social. In particular, you could share to Google Classroom. So as Google Classroom users, this is great because what this means is that if you want to create your interactive lessons, activities, assignments on Buncee, you could share it immediately to Google Classroom, so that if you want to be able to administrate and manage all content there, you could also do so. Equally said, if you want to create your Buncees and share your lessons out maybe to the community to be able to see, you could share it on Facebook, Twitter, Pinterest, LinkedIn, and then also Microsoft Teams. And then lastly, which is I think also very important given the context that we're in, you could also create your content as a digital version, but then also download it as a PDF, and then also as a resource, as an image resource. So those are just the different ways to be able to create and share a Buncee. It's a lot of information. There's a lot to do on Buncee. So big questions are, I want to get started. What do I do? So what I would suggest is once you go back to your dashboard, what you have access to is IdeasLab. Now, IdeasLab is what I mentioned in the presentation, and I highly recommend you to navigate it. But once you click on IdeasLab, this is actually a really incredible resource filled with different ideas, inspiration, just creative and innovative ways that educators have actually brought Buncee into their classroom, whether it's for math, science, English, language learning, physical education, arts, music, whatever the subject area is. Educators have actually contributed their own lessons, ideas, activities that they've used or created on Buncee to share with you, so that you'll be able to improve your practice without having the immediate training or support around you. So as you scroll through, you'll see different examples of Buncees, and you'll notice it can get super creative, as in this one is about bagels and health and nutrition. The other one's about Father's Day, because Father's Day is coming up. Other folks are doing it about planting journals, just different at-home activities. But key thing is that as you find an idea that you might be interested in, you could select it. It'll open it up. And what's cool is that you'll not only be able to see the activity in a lot more detail, test it out, see if it's something that you're interested in, but you'll see the description of why they created it this way, what's the benefit for the students or the teachers. And then you'll also see a button for create this. So if you really like this project and you're like, I want to do this with my students and share it out to them as an activity, you could also access the template immediately. And so when you press create this, it goes into your account, and then you could adapt it in whatever way you want and also share it out to your students, families, whoever it is. Last thing is that you could also bookmark it. So if you want to be able to save this as reference in the future, you could also save it too. So this is another cool example, big library. You could also search by topic area. And you'll be able to see the just different subject areas for you to navigate through, as well as just different grade levels. So this is my big summary or overview of Buncee. There's a lot more to it that we didn't get to dive into, but Ms. Delega, is Preeti here to join us? Because I'd love to have her share her experiences.
Hello,
Hello, hi.
am I audible?
Is Preeti here to join us? I could stop sharing my screen here after.
Yeah,
Awesome.
yeah, I'm here.
Oh, great. So what I'd love to do, Preeti, is transition to you. So now that I've covered so much about, what Buncee is and what it does, it's great to hear firsthand experience from someone who has really implemented it in their classroom, especially in India, where it's a different situation in the US. So with that, I'll leave it to you to share your screen. So I'll stop sharing mine.
Yeah, thank you, Eda.
Yep.
So I'm sharing my screen. I hope you can see. Can you see my screen?
Yes.
Okay. Can you see now? Can you see my screen now?
Hi, Preeti. I could see your screen.
Yeah. So as we all know, we are all aware of the COVID-19. It is now a global pandemic. It has affected to many aspects, many sectors of the society. One of them is education sector. Education sector all over the world is facing too many challenges, but in the form of these challenges, we can find some crises and opportunities too. When we all educators try to find the different ways how to connect with the students, uh, with the educators all over the world have an opportunity to prove that education is not only limited to the schools and books, but with the use of technology we can cover all the aspects of this uh, education system. Teaching has vast possibilities. Today technology make education flexible and accessible to anyone like never before. When I started finding the ways to connect with my students, I found beautiful options, different tools like Flipgrid, Buncee, Teams, and I have used in my classes too. While doing this, uh, while doing this, I have taken active participation of my students, and my students have created many of the Buncee creations. Some challenges we have to face that educating citizens in an interacted world, redefining the role of the educator, teaching life skills, need for the future, unlocking the technology to deliver education. Uh, while doing this, the role of a teacher is very difficult. We have to redefine our role, outline our goals, determine learning objectives, define learning objectives, use the right technology tools also. While using in the classroom, we have to choose the correct tools for our students. There are different tools we can use like Buncee, Teams, Kahoot, Wakelet, Flipgrid, and many more. My students have created many creations to show their work, show their active participation, how they can use technology in this pandemic, and they can connect with the education. My students have created few cards for the different festivals, for Father's Day, for Diwali, and for birthday cards they have created. While doing this, I have to provide them the opportunity to show their creativity. And by the use of different technology and Buncee cards, my students have shown how the situation they are facing, how they are missing their school, and what is happening in the atmosphere around them. So these are few examples as we can do with the classroom with our students. Our students can do many more things with the help of Buncee, and I found that Buncee is very useful tool in classroom. So these are few examples I have shared. I hope teachers can get beautiful ideas while using the Buncee, and you can also find that there is too much creativity you can show with your classrooms, with the teachers around us. We can collaborate with the teachers, we can do different projects with the other teachers from the other countries also. My students have participated in different projects like climate action and litter at plastic, litter at sea, to avoid plastic. And while doing this, they found that they have to use different tools. And Buncee is very useful tool they have found, and they have created many more cards and shared with the world, shared with the students from the other countries. And this is very nice platform to create, to show their creativity to the world.
Yeah, thank you for that, Preeti. So I wanted to leave some time for some questions. And I know somebody just asked how Buncee is used to differentiate, to different levels of students. So before I answer that, or actually let me answer it now. So it's a great question, first of all, because the idea here is that as you create your content on Buncee, you could actually set it to your own pace. So let's imagine that maybe some of your students have a different level of writing proficiency, right? So you want to be able to personalize a Buncee maybe to them. What you can actually do, first of all, is as an educator, your step would technically to be make a plan. How do you want to be able to reach that student given, that your understanding of where that student is? And so with that, you could actually create your Buncee first for maybe a broad level of students. And then knowing what that strategy that you've thought of, for your different levels of student, you could personalize how you change that information. So let's go back to the writing example. So maybe there's a student with that maybe doesn't know how to yet to even formalize an entire sentence, right? And they're still trying to pick and choose words. But you have other students in the class already at the level of writing several paragraphs in, for maybe English, right? And so what you can do is for your different students, maybe have the intro student actually record their own video first, talk a little bit more, or maybe they record their own audio so that they're not always forced to write. And now for your higher level students, you could create their own lesson where they're then able to, continue to actually write the extended paragraph or the free response. And so let me reshare my screen quickly here to show you how you would deliver that. So this is a little more of an advanced question. So I'm happy to actually do this in a follow-up session that we're going to have, but I'll touch on it pretty quickly here. So going into my account, the idea here is that you're actually using it as an educator to build your classes. So first of all, we didn't cover this, but you'll be able to see all of the classes with my, sample students in it. So bringing the example that I just shared, where you're creating 2 different lessons that are modified to share out to your students, what you'll notice is that I have some sample students in my account. But what I'll be able to do is actually put them in different groups. So I actually have pre-created groups where I wrote, reading groups B, reading group C, and you'll be able to add these different groups and add the students to them. And so now, depending on the levels of the students that you have, you could actually then assign a specific Buncee to a specific group of students within a class so that it's easy for you to differentiate it. And then you'll also be able to review all of their work and such. So that's one of the examples of how you could actually do that. So in any case, I hope that answered that question. But before I pass it back to Preeti, I just wanted to share one last thing because we actually just released this feature, but again, our hope with Buncee is to be able to engage both students and teachers and make just learning fun. And so what we actually launched very recently too is the ability for you to earn even more rewards. So as you create your work, as you create your assignments or submit your assignments, what you'll be able to do is notice this icon, a reward icon ribbon on the top, and you'll be able to start seeing your creativity challenge. So depending on how much you create, you'll be able to unlock different animations, each of which tell a story to the next story. And you'll be able to see all of the badges that you're able to earn. So if you view all of the activity, you'll be able to see how many days in a row you've been creating. So even for your students, if they're really engaged, you'll be able to see how many times they're actually doing their work. They'll also be unlocking different animations that they can use themselves. And you'll notice I still have a lot more rewards to continue unlocking, but you'll also see the activity. So you'll see I've engaged in quite a bit of discussion. I've also logged in quite a bit. I've created a lot of boards, Buncees, and then I've also have different badges that I've earned. So last thing was that, again, to make it fun, engaging for your students and also for yourselves as educators, you could see all of the different rewards that you can unlock. So here on the bottom are the ones that I still have yet to achieve. So I have a lot more to go. But yeah, the idea here again is, like I mentioned, to make it very fun and engaging for our kids and also for our educators. So that was one of the last main ones that I wanted to share. But is there any other questions that I could help answer while we're together? I'm just gonna go through quickly for the chat. But otherwise, Preeti, I'd love to pass it back to you if you have anything else you'd like to share.
No, yesterday I have seen that there are too many chances to get rewards. When you create one Buncee, you can get reward. When you start working with this, you can get reward. When you start working with your students, when you create 10 Buncee, you can get reward. This is awesome. I just love this because getting reward, students also love, even teachers also love to get rewards while they are working with Buncee. This feature I just love. And I am eager to do. I am really very eager to do many creations. And though I am using since last year, but also I am eager to do in future also.
No, I'm glad to hear. But yeah, really appreciate your feedback. And I hear some questions about pricing on the side. So let me just answer that. So first of all, to support our educators, especially as we move to a remote learning environment, we've made Buncee free of charge. And right now, if you access it now, you'll get it for 3 months for free. And then moving forward, things are still quite a bit of a challenge. So there's a little room for it in terms of question support that you're looking for. So feel free to reach out to me. But if you sign up in any case, that's the current situation. But prior to COVID, what the price is, honestly, it goes as $10 US a month. So it's very manageable in some instances too. So that's really how it goes. But in terms of a school district or a school plan, it's different. There's a lot more customization, but it's also around $100 per teacher for a full year of support. So that's 12 months. So it almost boils down to about $10 too. So thank you so much for all of the questions and taking the time to be able to, learn with us today. And I really enjoyed sharing. Is there anything else that I could help answer while we're together? Otherwise, I'm happy to pass it back to you, Ms. Delega, if you're here.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Miss Eda and Miss Preeti, for your great explanation about Buncee. Buncee, so from this session, we found out that Buncee is a very great tool that we can apply for our students, and it is so beneficial for our educators. And we are fortunate that we are going to get help from this app during this remote learning. And dear teachers, as usual, subscribe to Inspire.my YouTube channel. You will need to fill in your attendance from based on the link that is appearing on the screen. Just a gentle reminder, please fill in the forms correctly, especially check the spelling of your name, IC number, and your email address. Do not share the link to anyone who else as it is meant for those who attended this slot. And those who missed this session or late joiners can watch it back later on this link. Thank you so much.
So thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you so much for having us. Like I mentioned, feel free to reach me if you have any questions. Again, if you weren't able to see in the beginning, my contact information is edac@buncee.com. That's EDAC@buncee.com. Otherwise, looking forward to collaborating more with you all in the future. And thanks again, Preeti. It was great to see you and also hear about your experiences too.
Thank you so much for having me here. And sorry for the connectivity problem with me. I just take some time to join with you. And I would also like to share my experience. And if anyone need any help, I can help them to how to join Buncee, how to create presentations, and rest of the other things you are there also. So thank you so much for having me here. Thank you.
All right. Thank you. Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye.